Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earthship Endeavour, staring at the message that had just arrived. He read it 3 times before he could believe what it said. The biggest war in the galaxy was finally ending, and somehow they wanted humans to help. For 200 years, 3 alien races had been killing each other across the stars. The Korath were giant lizard people who loved to fight. The Zephyrians looked like walking bugs and always worked together like a hive. The Vorthons were made of living crystal and thought they were better than everyone else. All 3 hated each other so much that they had turned whole star systems into graveyards. Now they wanted to make peace, and they needed someone to help them talk. Someone who had no part in their old fights. Someone neutral. That someone was humanity. Jake shook his head. Humans had only been traveling between stars for 50 years. Most aliens still thought of them as stupid animals who had just learned to use tools. Why would these ancient, powerful races want help from people they looked down on? "Captain, we have Admiral Rodriguez on the communication system," said Lieutenant Tom Baker from his station. "Put her through," Jake said. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez appeared on the main screen. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been dealing with aliens longer than almost anyone else in the Earth military. "Jake, I know what you're thinking," she said before he could speak. "Why us? Why now? I'll tell you why. This is the biggest chance humanity has ever had." Jake sat down in his command chair. "Admiral, these 3 races have technology we can barely understand. They've been fighting since before humans even knew there were other worlds out there. What makes them think we can help?" "That's exactly why they picked us," Lisa said. "We don't have old grudges. We don't have history with any of them. To them, we're like children who might see things differently." "Children they don't take seriously," Jake pointed out. "Maybe. But if we can help end this war, humanity goes from being the new kids nobody cares about to being the people who saved the galaxy. Think about what that means for Earth." Jake did think about it. Right now, humans were barely noticed by most alien governments. Earth was a small, unimportant world in a corner of space nobody cared about. But if they could do this... "What do you need from me, Admiral?" "I'm putting together a small team. You'll be our military advisor. I also want Dr. Alex Turner as our alien expert and Commander Maya Brooks to handle the actual talking." Jake knew both of them. Alex was young, but smart. One of the few people who really understood how different alien minds worked. Maya was tough and had never met a problem she couldn't talk her way through. "Where is this peace meeting happening?" Jake asked. "A place called Harmony Point. It's a space station built just for meetings like this. Completely neutral ground. No weapons allowed except for personal security. And if this goes wrong..." Lisa was quiet for a moment. "If this goes wrong, the war continues until one side wipes out the other 2. Billions more will die, and humanity stays in the corner while the galaxy burns." After the call ended, Jake walked to the viewing port and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were fighting battles that could destroy planets. Somewhere out there, 3 races that had once built amazing civilizations were now focused only on killing each other. A week later, the Endeavour arrived at Harmony Point. The space station was huge, built like a wheel spinning slowly in space. Ships from dozens of different worlds were docked around it. Most Jake didn't recognize, but he could see the sharp, aggressive lines of Korath warships, the smooth, organic curves of Zephyrian vessels, and the geometric, crystal-like forms of Vorthon craft. "Look at the size of those things," said Dr. Alex Turner, joining Jake at the viewing port. Alex was a thin man with messy brown hair who always seemed to be thinking about 3 different things at once. "Each one of those ships could probably destroy a city," Jake said. "The Korath ones could destroy a continent," Alex corrected. "The Zephyrian ships worked together, so a small group could take out a whole planet's defenses. And the Vorthon vessels, well, we're not even sure how their weapons work." Commander Maya Brooks walked up behind them. She was a tall woman with black hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. She always stood straight and looked like she was ready for anything. "Nervous?" she asked. "Should we be?" Jake replied. "Probably. I've been reading the files on these 3 races. They don't just dislike each other. They think the others don't deserve to exist. The Korath think the Zephyrians are weak bugs that need to be stepped on. The Zephyrians think the Korath are mindless animals. Both of them think the Vorthans are cold machines with no real life in them. And the Vorthans? Alex asked. They think organic life is a mistake that needs to be corrected. Jake sighed. So we're supposed to get 3 groups of people who want to kill each other to sit down and be friends. That's about right, Maya said. Any ideas how? I'm working on it. As the Endeavor docked with Harmony Point, Jake could see other ships arriving. More Korath vessels, dark and covered in weapon ports. More Zephyrian ships that seemed to move like living things. More Vorthan craft that looked like they were carved from single pieces of crystal. Each group was bringing enough firepower to level a world. They were all here to talk about peace, but they were ready for war. Captain, said Lieutenant Baker, over the communication system, we're getting a message from Harmony Point. They want our delegation to come aboard immediately. All ready? Jake asked. Apparently the 3 main groups are already here and they want to start right away. Jake looked at Alex and Maya. Ready to save the galaxy? Or die trying, Maya said with a grim smile. As they prepared to leave the Endeavor, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something much bigger and more dangerous than anyone on Earth had imagined. But they were here now, and there was no going back. The future of the galaxy might depend on what happened in the next few days. The meeting room on Harmony Point was the largest space Jake Morrison had ever seen inside a building. It was circular, with 3 sections separated by clear walls that could be removed when needed. Right now, those walls were very much in place. In one section sat the Korath delegation. Jake had seen pictures, but seeing them in person was different. Warprime Skax was 8 feet tall, covered in dark green scales with yellow eyes that never seemed to blink. His claws scraped against the metal table as he moved. 2 smaller Korath flanked him, but they were still bigger than any human. The Zephyrian section buzzed with quiet activity. Queen Voice Zakth was the speaker for her group, but Jake could see 6 other Zephyrians behind her, all moving in perfect coordination. They looked like giant mantises walking upright, with 4 arms each and compound eyes that reflected light like jewels. When one moved, the others moved too, as if they shared the same mind. The Vorthan section was the strangest. Resonance Speaker Thrum looked like a walking sculpture made of blue crystal. Light moved through its body in patterns that hurt to look at for too long. It made no sound except for a low humming that Jake could feel in his bones. 2 other Vorthans stood behind it, identical except for the color of light inside them. Commander Maya Brooks sat at a small table in the center, with Jake and Dr. Alex Turner on either side. They looked very small compared to the alien delegates. We'll begin, Maya said, her voice carrying clearly through the room's speakers. The Galactic Confederation recognizes this as an official peace negotiation between the Korath Empire, the Zephyrian Hives, and the Vorthan Collective. War Prime. Skax slammed his fist on the table. The sound echoed through the room like thunder. There will be no peace until the bug things and the cold rocks surrender completely. The Korath are the strongest. We have proven this in battle for 2 centuries. Queen Voice Zakth's compound eyes turned toward the Korath section. When she spoke, her voice sounded like several people talking at once. The lizard beasts speak of strength, but they know nothing of true power. The hives have survived because we think as one. We adapt as one. We will outlast both the savage things and the dead stones. The humming from Resonance Speaker Thrum grew louder. When it spoke, the sound seemed to come from everywhere at once. Organic life forms display expected emotional responses. Your brief existences cannot comprehend the permanence of crystal. We have existed for millions of years. We will exist when your species are forgotten dust. Jake watched Maya try to maintain her diplomatic smile. He could see the tension in her shoulders. Perhaps we could discuss specific territorial disputes, Maya suggested. If each group could list their primary concerns. Our primary concern, Skax growled, is that the others exist at all. The hive mind agrees, said Zakth. Peace is impossible while the lizard beasts spread their violence and the cold stones spread their emptiness. Biological entities lack the capacity for true understanding, Thrum resonated. Your organic thoughts are chaos. Only crystal logic brings order. The first day of talks ended with no progress. The second day was worse. By the third day, Jake noticed that more ships were arriving outside Harmony Point. Not diplomat ships, but warships. That evening, Jake found Dr. Turner in the station's library, surrounded by holographic displays showing alien writing, pictures, and videos. Learning anything useful? Jake asked. Alex looked up, his eyes red from staring at screens. Too much, actually. I've been studying their cultures, their histories, their psychology. Jake, I don't think they really want peace. What do you mean? Alex waved his hand, and the displays showed battle maps from the ongoing war. Look at these attack patterns. For the past 50 years, none of them have been trying to win quickly. They've been fighting just hard enough to keep the war going. That doesn't make sense. Why would they want to keep fighting? Because they're not fighting to win territory or resources. They're fighting to prepare for something bigger. Alex changed the display to show weapon development charts. Each side has been developing new technology, building larger fleets, training more soldiers. They're not trying to end this war. They're trying to make sure they're ready for the final war. Jake felt cold. Final war? Complete genocide. Each side is planning to wipe out the other two entirely. This peace summit isn't about ending the fighting. It's about buying time to get ready for the real battle. Jake sat down heavily. Have you told Maya? I'm telling you both now. Maya said from the doorway. She looked tired but determined. I've been watching them during the talks. Every time one side makes a point, the others aren't listening. They're studying, learning about their enemy's weaknesses. So what do we do? Jake asked. Alex stood up and began pacing. We have to understand them better than they understand each other. Look, the Korath respect strength above everything else. They think might makes right. But they also have a code of honor about fighting fairly. The Zephyrians are all about the group, Maya added. Individual Zephyrians barely exist as separate people. Everything they do is for the hive. But that also means they can't understand why anyone would act alone. And the Vorthans, Alex continued, think in terms of thousands of years. What seems urgent to us is just a moment to them. But they also can't handle unexpected changes or chaos. Jake thought about this. So they're all stuck thinking in their own ways. None of them can see what the others really want. Exactly. The Korath think this is about proving who's strongest. The Zephyrians think it's about which group will survive. The Vorthans think it's about bringing order to chaos, but none of them understand that the others have completely different goals. Maya sat down at the table with them. Traditional diplomacy won't work here. We can't just get them to compromise because they don't want the same things. Then what can we do? Jake asked. Alex stopped pacing and turned to them. We need to show them what they're really up against. Not each other, but the consequences of what they're planning. How? I'm not sure yet, but I think we need to stop trying to make them talk to each other and start making them really see each other. Over the next 2 days, the situation got worse. Jake noticed more warships arriving. The alien delegates became more aggressive in their language. Twice, security had to step in when the Korath and Zephyrian groups almost came to physical violence. Other alien species that had been trying to help with the peace talks began leaving Harmony Point. The Altarians, who were known as great peacekeepers, announced they saw no hope for success. The Centaurans, famous for their wisdom, said the situation was beyond their abilities. On the 6th day, proximity alarms began sounding throughout the station. Jake rushed to the nearest observation deck and saw what was happening outside. Korath warships were moving into attack formation near the Zephyrian fleet. Zephyrian vessels were swarming around the Vorthan crystalline ships. Energy readings showed that weapons were charging across all 3 fleets. Captain Morrison to the bridge, came an announcement over the station's communication system. Jake ran through the corridors, knowing that the peace summit was about to become a battlefield, and humanity was caught right in the middle of it. Jake Morrison reached the observation deck just as the first shots were fired. Not at each other, but close enough to send a message. A Korath plasma beam flashed past a Zephyrian scout ship. A swarm of Zephyrian fighter craft buzzed around a Vorthan cruiser. Crystal energy beams from the Vorthan ships created light shows that were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "This is it," said Commander Maya Brooks, joining Jake at the window. "The peace talks are over before they really started." "Not yet," Jake said, watching the ships move like predators circling each other. "They're not shooting to kill. They're showing off. For now. But how long before someone makes a mistake?" Dr. Alex Turner ran up to them carrying a portable computer. "I've been monitoring their communications. Each fleet is reporting the same thing to their home worlds. The enemy fleets are preparing to attack. They're asking for reinforcements." Jake felt his heart sink. "How long before those reinforcements arrive?" 2 days, maybe 3. After that, this whole area becomes a war zone." Maya activated her communication device. "Maya to Admiral Rodriguez. Emergency situation. We need to talk." Admiral Rodriguez appeared on a small screen. Behind her, Jake could see the frantic activity of Earth's command center. "I'm watching the feeds from your location. How bad is it?" "Bad. The 3 fleets are one mistake away from starting the final war right here. All the other mediator species are evacuating. What about you? Do you want to come home?" Jake, Maya, and Alex looked at each other. They could leave. The Endeavor was still docked and ready to go. Earth would understand. No one expected humans to solve a problem that had defeated every other species in the galaxy. "No," Maya said firmly. "We're not giving up." "Maya, be realistic. What can 3 humans do that entire civilizations couldn't?" "I don't know yet. But we're not leaving." After the call ended, they sat in Maya's quarters trying to think of solutions. Outside the window, alien warships continued their deadly dance. "We've been approaching this wrong," Alex said suddenly. "We've been trying to get them to talk like humans, but they're not human." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "The Korath respect strength. The Zephyrians value group survival. The Vorthons want order. We keep trying to appeal to their logic or their emotions, but that's not how they think." Maya leaned forward. "So what do? We speak their languages, not their words, but their values." Alex stood up and began pacing, which he always did when he had an idea. "The Korath want to prove they're the strongest. The Zephyrians want to show their hive can survive anything. The Vorthans want to demonstrate their superiority. They've been doing that for 200 years, Jake pointed out. No, they've been fighting each other, but they've never had a chance to show what they can really do. They're so focused on destroying their enemies that they never get to actually prove their strength." Jake was beginning to understand. "You want to give them a chance to show off." "Exactly, but not against each other. Against us." Maya stared at him. "You want to challenge 3 galactic superpowers to a fight?" "Not a real fight. War games. Controlled combat exercises. Let them demonstrate their full capabilities without actually killing anyone." "Alex, they would destroy us in seconds." "Of course they would. But that's not the point. The point is to let them show what they can do, and to show them what we can do." Jake felt a strange excitement growing in his chest. It was a crazy idea, but it might work. "What exactly are you thinking?" Alex sat back down, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. "We challenge each of them to different kinds of contests. Combat exercises where they can use their full strength but in controlled conditions. We learn from them and they learn from us." "And what do we learn?" Maya asked. "Everything. How they fight, how they think, how they work together. But more importantly, we show them that we're not just weak humans trying to play diplomat. We're something else entirely." Maya was quiet for a long moment. "It's insane, but it might be the only chance we have." They spent the next several hours working out the details. They would propose a series of war games between humans and each alien species. Individual combat, small unit tactics, fleet exercises. The aliens could demonstrate their superiority, and humanity would learn from the best warriors in the galaxy. The next morning, Maya called for an emergency session of the peace talks. The three alien delegations looked ready to walk out and start shooting. Before anyone leaves, Maya announced, humanity has a proposal. War Prime Skax laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. The little humans have a proposal? This should be amusing. You think we're weak, Maya continued. You think we're children who don't understand real conflict. You're probably right. But we want to learn. Queen Voice Zaxth tilted her head, compound eyes reflecting the room's lights. Learn what, small thing? How to fight like you do. Each of you claims to be superior to the others. Prove it. Not against each other, but against us. The room fell silent. Resonance, speaker thrums, humming grew louder. You wish to engage in combat with us? War games, Jake said, standing up. Controlled exercises. You can show us your full capabilities without risking your real fleets against each other. Skax's eyes narrowed. What do humans gain from this? We learn from the best, Maya said. And you get to prove your strength without the risk of actual war. The hive mind is curious, Zaxth said. What can soft flesh beings teach us about survival? Maybe nothing, Alex said. But aren't you curious to find out? For the first time since the talks began, the three alien leaders looked interested. Instead of angry. Individual combat, Skax said. Korath warrior against human warrior. Tactical exercises, Zaxth added. Hive coordination against human groupthink. Technology assessment, Thrum resonated. Crystal perfection against organic improvisation, Maya nodded. Agreed, but with one condition. After the exercises, we continue the peace talks. You'll have proven your strength, and maybe we'll all understand each other better. And if the humans prove weak and useless, Skax asked, then you'll know that for certain and you can go back to your war with clear consciences. The three alien leaders looked at each other for the first time since the talks began. Not with hatred, but with something like curiosity. Very well, Skax said. The Korath accept this challenge. The hive mind agrees, Zaxth said. Crystal logic finds this acceptable, Thrum added. As the aliens left to prepare for the war games, Jake turned to his colleagues. I hope we know what we're doing. We don't, Maya admitted, but at least now we have a chance to find out what humans are really capable of. Outside the station, the three fleets stopped their aggressive posturing and began organizing for something none of them had expected, a chance to fight humans instead of each other. The first challenge came sooner than Jake Morrison expected. War Prime Skax had demanded single combat within hours of agreeing to the war games. The Korath leader wanted to fight Captain Morrison himself, using traditional Korath weapons and rules. Jake stood in the combat arena wearing lightweight armor that felt like paper compared to Skax's thick battlesuit. The Korath warrior was nearly 3 feet taller, covered in natural armor scales, and armed with a plasma sword that could cut through steel. Jake held a similar weapon that felt clumsy in his hands. This will be brief, Skax said, his voice carrying easily across the arena. Representatives from all three alien species watched from protected viewing areas. Jake activated his plasma sword and took a defensive stance. He had studied Korath fighting techniques for the past 6 hours, but 6 hours against 2 centuries of warrior tradition was not much. Skax moved faster than Jake thought possible for something so large. The plasma sword came down in an overhead strike that would have split Jake in half. Jake barely dodged, rolling to the left as the weapon scorched the arena floor where he had been standing. The next few minutes were a blur of desperate movement. Skax attacked with the fury of a storm, each strike powerful enough to end the fight instantly. Jake dodged, blocked when he could, and tried to stay alive. His armor took several hits that would have killed him without protection. But something strange happened as the fight continued. Jake began to anticipate Skax's moves. The Korath warrior was incredibly skilled, but he fought with patterns. Traditional techniques passed down through generations. Jake started to see the openings. When Skax raised his sword for another overhead strike, Jake didn't dodge. Instead, he stepped forward and slashed across the Korath's arm. It was a minor hit, barely scratching the scales, but it was a hit. Skax stopped and stared at his arm. Green blood dripped slowly to the arena floor. Impossible, he said. How did you— I watched you fight, Jake said, breathing hard. You're incredibly skilled, but you fight the same way every time. Skax's next attack was different. Instead of the traditional overhead strike, he came in low and fast. But Jake had been watching for changes too. He jumped back and struck again, this time leaving a longer scratch across Skax's chest armor. The fight ended when Skax landed a hit that sent Jake flying across the arena. Jake's armor absorbed most of the impact, but he was done. However, he had managed to land 7 hits on a warrior who should have been untouchable. Skax helped Jake to his feet. You fought well for a soft skin. How did you learn Korath techniques so quickly? I didn't learn your techniques, Jake said. I learned how you think when you fight. The second challenge came the next day. Dr. Alex Turner participated in a Zephyrian hive mind simulation. He was connected to their group consciousness through a neural link that was supposed to be safe for humans. The experience nearly broke his mind. Suddenly, Alex could feel the thoughts and emotions of 6 Zephyrians at once. Their shared consciousness was like being caught in a storm of minds, all thinking different parts of the same thoughts. Individual identity began to disappear as the hive mind pulled him in. Alex lasted 12 minutes before the connection had to be severed. He collapsed, shaking and unable to speak for several minutes. But during those 12 minutes, something remarkable happened. The human mind created new patterns, Queen Voice Zacht said afterward. Individual thoughts that the hive mind had never experienced. Strange ideas that came from thinking alone instead of thinking together. Alex, once he recovered, explained what he had felt. Your hive mind is incredibly powerful, but it thinks in very structured ways. When I was connected, my individual perspective created chaos in your perfect order. But that chaos generated ideas none of you had thought of before. What kind of ideas? Zacht asked. Ways to solve problems that require individual initiative, strategies that depend on unpredictable action. The hive mind is perfect for coordination, but individual thinking is perfect for innovation. The third challenge was the strangest. Commander Maya Brooks attempted to communicate directly with the Vorthan crystal network. The process involved placing her hands on resonance speaker Thrum's crystalline surface and trying to understand their form of consciousness. Maya couldn't achieve true communication with the Vorthan network. Their crystal thoughts were too different from organic minds, but her emotional responses to their crystalline harmony created something unexpected. Colors and patterns of light moved through Thrum's body in ways the Vorthons had never seen before. Organic. Emotional resonance creates beauty, Thrum said afterward, its voice carrying wonder. Crystal logic is perfect, but perfection cannot create the unexpected patterns that soft flesh emotions generate. Then came the fleet exercises. Each alien power brought a small battle group to demonstrate their capabilities against human ships. The results were exactly what everyone expected. The humans lost every single engagement. The Korath showed their overwhelming firepower. Their ships hit harder and moved faster than human vessels. In the first exercise, they destroyed Jake's entire squadron in less than 10 minutes. But in the second exercise, Jake's ships lasted 15 minutes. In the third, they lasted 25 minutes and actually managed to damage one Korath vessel before being destroyed. How are they lasting longer each time? Skax asked his tactical officers. They're copying our techniques, War Prime. Each battle they fight more like Korath. The Zephyrian exercises showed perfect coordination between hundreds of small ships. Queen Voice Zacht commanded swarms of fighters that moved like flocks of birds, each ship knowing exactly what the others would do. Human ships couldn't match that level of coordination, but they started working together in ways that surprised the Zephyrians. By the third exercise, human squadrons were using simplified versions of hive tactics combined with individual initiative that the Zephyrians found fascinating. The Vorthon exercises demonstrated technology that seemed like magic. Their ships moved through space in impossible ways, using weapons that manipulated time and space itself. Human ships were completely outclassed, but human engineers watched every battle carefully. By the final exercise, they had managed to modify their own weapons using principles they learned from studying Vorthan technology. The modifications didn't work very well, but they worked. The humans are adapting, Thrum observed. Each engagement, they incorporate elements of our technology into their own systems. After a week of exercises, the three alien leaders met privately to discuss what they had seen. The humans lose every battle, Skak said. But they lose less badly each time, Zach added. They learn faster than should be possible, Thrum concluded. What none of them said out loud was what they were all thinking. If the humans could learn this much in a week, what could they learn in a year? In 10 years? In a century? The final exercise was scheduled for the next day. All three alien powers would face human forces simultaneously, showing their combined might against Earth's small fleet. Jake, Alex, and Maya prepared for what everyone expected to be the most one-sided battle in galactic history. But they had learned something important during the past week. Humans might not be the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced species in the galaxy, but they were something else entirely. They were the species that got stronger by facing stronger opponents. Tomorrow, the galaxy would see what that really meant. The final exercise was supposed to be simple. The three alien powers would work together to show their combined strength against the human fleet. It would prove once and for all that humans were no threat to anyone, and then they could go back to their real war. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the command chair of the Endeavour, watching his tactical display. 12 human ships faced off against 40 alien vessels. The odds were impossible, but Jake felt strangely calm. All ships, remember what we learned, he said into his communication system. Fight like Korath when you need to hit hard. Coordinate. Like Zephyrians when you need to work together. Use Vorthon techniques when you need to survive the impossible. The exercise began with the alien fleets advancing in perfect formation. Korath ships led the charge with their heavy weapons ready. Zephyrian swarms flanked from both sides with hundreds of small fighters. Vorthon vessels moved through space in ways that seemed to ignore physics entirely. For the first few minutes, everything went as expected. Human ships took heavy damage from Korath plasma cannons. Zephyrian fighters swarmed around them like angry insects. Vorthon energy beams sliced through human armor like it was made of paper. But then something changed. Instead of fighting as individual ships the way humans usually did, they began moving like a Zephyrian hive. But instead of perfect coordination, they used individual thinking to make unexpected decisions that confused the alien formations. When Korath ships moved in for killing blows, human vessels suddenly fought back with Korath-style aggression that caught the reptilian warriors off guard. When Vorthon ships tried to use their advanced technology to disable human vessels, the humans used modified versions of Vorthon techniques that shouldn't have been possible for organic minds to understand. How are they doing this? War Prime Skax demanded from his command ship. They're using our own tactics against us, his tactical officer replied, but they're combining them in ways we've never seen. Jake's fleet wasn't winning. They were still outnumbered and outgunned. But they were lasting much longer than anyone thought possible. More importantly, they were forcing the three alien powers to work together to stop them. Focus fire on the human command ship, Queen Voice Zaxth ordered her swarms. Negative, Skax interrupted. Korath ships will handle the command vessel. Hive things, deal with their flanking maneuvers. Crystal logic suggests different priorities, Resonant Speaker Thrum added. Human vessels are adapting too quickly. All forces should concentrate on preventing their learning process. For the first time in 200 years, the three species found themselves arguing about tactics instead of trying to kill each other. Dr. Alex Turner, monitoring the battle from the observation deck, noticed something that made his blood run cold. Maya, you need to see this. Commander Maya Brooks joined him at the tactical display. What am I looking at? The communication patterns between the alien fleets. They're not just working together to fight us. They're starting to actually cooperate. Isn't that good? Cooperation instead of war. Look closer. They're not cooperating because they like each other. They're cooperating because they're all afraid of the same thing. Maya studied the display and saw what Alex meant. The three alien fleets were sharing information, coordinating attacks, and supporting each other's weaknesses. They were acting like allies against a common enemy. That enemy was humanity. The battle simulation ended with the human fleet destroyed. as everyone expected. But it took all three alien powers working together for 40 minutes to make it happen. A week ago, they could have wiped out the human ships in 5 minutes without even working together. In the aftermath, the three alien leaders stood in the same room for the first time since the peace talks began, but now they weren't glaring at each other with hatred. They were looking at the humans with something else entirely. "Explain what we just witnessed," Skax said to Jake. Jake stood up slowly. He could feel the weight of history in this moment. You wanted to see what humans could do. Now you know. You lost every engagement, Zack pointed out. Yes. But we lost less badly each time, and each time we fought we learned something new from you. Thrum's humming grew deeper. You incorporated our technologies into your systems. You studied our tactics and made them your own, Skax added. You took our coordination methods and improved them with individual thinking, Zack said. Alex stepped forward. That's what humans do. We don't just fight our enemies. We learn from them. We take their strengths and make them part of ourselves. Maya walked to the center of the room. You've been fighting each other for 200 years. In 1 week, we learned enough from all of you to force you to work together just to defeat a handful of our ships. What are you saying? Skax asked, though his voice suggested he already knew. We're saying that if this war continues, humanity will keep learning. From every battle, every technique, every technology. In 10 years, we'll be as dangerous as any of you. In 50 years, we'll be more dangerous than all of you. But not if you make peace, Jake said. If you end this war now, humanity stays in our corner of space. We remain the harmless newcomers who helped broker peace. But if the fighting continues, he didn't need to finish the sentence. Resonant speaker Thrum spoke first. Crystal logic calculates probable outcomes. Continued warfare creates an adaptive predator species. Queen voice, Zack's compound eyes focused on Jake. The hive mind reaches consensus. Peace preserves the hive better than war against learning creatures. War Prime Skax was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. The Korath respect strength. You have shown us a new kind of strength, one that grows instead of depleting. The peace negotiations resumed that afternoon, but the atmosphere was completely different. The three alien powers no longer saw each other as their primary threat. They all understood that continuing their war would create something far more dangerous than any of their ancient enemies. The Harmony Accords were signed 3 days later, not because the three species had learned to love each other, but because they had all learned to fear what would happen if humanity kept learning from their conflicts. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, Jake received a priority message from Admiral Rodriguez. It contained reports from across the galaxy. Every major alien civilization wanted to establish diplomatic relations with humanity. Some offered trade agreements. Others proposed military alliances. A few issued polite warnings about staying within human space. We did it, Maya said, looking out at the alien ships departing Harmony Point. We brought peace to the galaxy. Did we? Alex asked. Or did we just show them that there's something scarier than each other? Jake watched the stars and wondered if humanity had just won the greatest victory in their history, or if they had painted a target on Earth that would never disappear. The galaxy was at peace, but now everyone knew that humans were the species that got stronger by fighting stronger opponents. In the end, fear had proven to be a better peacemaker than diplomacy. But fear was a dangerous foundation for galactic relations. Time would tell whether humanity's new reputation would protect Earth or doom it.